It's Tuesday, December 29th. Coming up on Chat Television, more COVID-19 vaccine doses have arrived in Alberta, and the Chamber of Commerce is trying to help members locate government funding streams. Chat News at 5 starts right now.
From Medicine Hat, this is the Chat Evening News with Dan Reynish.
Good evening. Thank you for watching. Premier Jason Kenney announced this afternoon more Moderna vaccine doses have arrived in Alberta. This shipment will be used to immunize residents at long-term care and designated supportive living facilities, beginning with those at highest risk. The Moderna vaccine can be more readily transported to continuing care sites, making it the most ideal vaccine for vulnerable populations.
Today, 16,900 doses of Moderna vaccine will arrive in Alberta and will immediately begin immunizing residents at long-term care and designated supportive living facilities. The first shipment will arrive at facilities in Edmonton, Calgary, Red Deer, Medicine Hat, Lethbridge, Grand Prairie, St. Paul, and Fort Saskatchewan. This is exciting news for staff, residents, and families of these facilities who have been on the front lines of our battle with COVID-19 since the spring and who've experienced untold pain and loss.
There were 879 new cases of COVID-19 in Alberta today. 26 more people have died, including one here in Medicine Hat. 890 people are currently in hospital, 153 are in intensive care. In Medicine Hat, there are 60 active cases right now. 8 of those are new. As more shipments of both the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines arrive in early January, immunization will focus on residents of long-term care and designated supportive living facilities, followed by seniors aged 75 and over. Health Minister Tyler Shandro says this is a huge step forward.
Having the ability to bring the Moderna vaccine to the bedside will make a massive difference in our ability to stop the spread. It also means that we can reach more remote communities where the impact of a COVID outbreak can be devastating. And it means that we can work to protect entire facilities at once, immunizing entire floors and facilities in one visit. Immunization is also quickly moving out to other congregate care settings and into the broader community of seniors, as Premier mentioned. Our first focus is on the most vulnerable, where we have seen the greatest impact throughout the pandemic.
Phase 2 of the province's immunization program is still expected to start by April 2021. Phase 3 will involve rolling out vaccinations to the general population in Alberta. That is anticipated to start later in 2021. Moving from Alberta to Canada's 2 largest provinces, they're continuing to battle COVID-19 like never before. Ontario reported a new single-day high of 2,553 cases today. Quebec also marked a new record with 2,381 infections. Pressure is growing to get Canadians vaccinated as soon as possible. All of the province's clinics are open today, and Ontario expects to get its first doses of the Moderna vaccine tomorrow. But as Richard Zussman reports, there's a lot of work to do.
Holiday break over. After days of being criticized for closing COVID-19 vaccine clinics in Ontario, the person in charge of distribution apologizing.
It was the wrong decision. I think I acknowledge that quite clearly and accept the responsibility that we'll get better faster now because we've learned from that. And we've heard the voices of the people of Ontario saying, get on with this.
Former General Rick Hillier announcing Ontario will now be fast-tracking COVID vaccinations and asking the federal government to consider providing the Moderna vaccine as a single dose instead of 2, something not done in any other jurisdiction in the world.
I haven't seen evidence that says one shot can work. What I'd like is somebody to look at it, come back and tell us, no, it's not possible, or come back and say, yes, we can do it, and here's what we're going to do.
The federal government says Moderna would need to prove the one shot is effective in order to support a change. It currently requires 2 doses administered 28 days apart. The Moderna vaccine is now being distributed in Canada, arriving in the Northwest Territories and Yukon on Monday. Vaccination set to begin there in January.
You could start building that, asking Health Canada, asking Moderna, what's the longest interval we can go between the 2 doses? I think we can certainly consider when that second dose needs to be, if it's day 28 for Moderna, or can we wait, 6 weeks or 8 weeks?
Across the country, doses are slow to roll out. Every jurisdiction with fewer than 10,000 shots except Ontario and Quebec. Many regions running reduced immunization clinic hours over the past week, including Manitoba, British Columbia, and Ontario. Compare Canada, with a vaccination rate of 0.16 per 100 people, to the United States, where 4 times as many people are getting the shot per capita, with a rate of 0.64 per 100 people being vaccinated.
So the term falling behind is laden with all sorts of emotions. I think what I would say is we could definitely be doing better.
Every province and territory has different priorities in terms of who's getting the shot first, but the common goal is to give the vaccination to those that are most vulnerable before the general public. The stated goal from the federal government still to inoculate everyone in Canada who wants it by the fall of 2021. Richard Zussman, Global News, Victoria.
Running a small business during a pandemic in Medicine Hat has been a challenge, and figuring out how to access available provincial and federal government funding can also be a daunting task. The Medicine Hat and District Chamber of Commerce has come up with a way for members to navigate the various government funding streams. Chamber President Marcus Campbell says the pandemic has created what he terms Zoom fatigue, where people have grown tired of being in front of a computer screen for long periods of time. That's why they've designed 6 micro-sessions dealing with various funding streams to help business owners learn about the opportunities available without having to be at their computer for a specific time or a long period of time.
No, this is the nice thing, that they can access these modules at any time, so they don't have to be in attendance for a certain time frame. They are free to look at these whenever they have time. And this is a little bit of a pilot program to see how these things work out.
Campbell sees this format as an opportunity for the Chamber to broadcast other information sessions in 15 to 20-minute segments that members could access on their own schedule. The current micro-sessions can be found on the Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel. Jean Lougheed, the wife of the late Premier Peter Lougheed, has died. Premier Jason Kenney offered his condolences, saying he is saddened by the death of a truly great Albertan. Mrs. Lougheed was born in Forestburg, southeast of Camrose, before attending the University of Alberta, where she met her future husband. She's credited with being a driving force behind Peter Lougheed's success as one of his closest advisors, and contributed generously to Alberta's art community. Flags at the legislature will fly at half-staff in her memory.
Chat Weather, brought to you by Design Flooring Center, with you every step of the way.
Chat Weather, powered by AccuWeather.
All right, before we get to our forecast, let's look back on some of the biggest stories of the year, weather stories. And according to Environment Canada, Calgary's billion-dollar hailstorm in June that featured hail the size of baseballs and 70-kilometer-an-hour winds was Canada's top weather story of the year. Senior climatologist David Phillips says it did a lot of damage in a matter of 11 minutes on June 13th. That storm created $1.3 billion in terms of insurance losses in the northeast neighborhoods of Calgary.
Insurance is not always a good indicator of the economic hardship. A lot of people don't have insurance. They don't make claims. The governments don't necessarily insure the infrastructure. So the damage was far greater than indicated by that. And I think when you just look at new cars, I mean, there were more cars written off in that storm than are sold in the province of Alberta in a year, new cars. So it just shows you what a big ticket item it was.
The Calgary hailstorm was also the fourth most expensive insured natural disaster in Canadian history. Homes were pummeled with large hailstones, creating extensive damage to exteriors with holes in siding, windows, vegetable gardens turned into coleslaw, and trees lost their branches. David Phillips says many have not recovered yet and have not received their payouts from the insurance industry. Here in Medicine Hat, the year started off with cold weather during the second week of January, down to minus 37.
There were a lot of freezing frozen water pipes and propane lines, and cold vehicle batteries had to get started then. And then in the end of July, I remember talking to people in Medicine Hat. We saw really a heat really arrive. We had 12 or 14 days where the temperature got above 30 degrees, including 3 days in a row where the temperature got above 35. And this was towards the end of July and the beginning of August.
Coming closer to where we are today, winter was back again during the first weekend of November with over 20 centimeters of snowfall and high winds. Philip says our harvest in the southern part of Alberta was far better than last year with ideal conditions in September and October. And there you go. That's a look back at the year that was when it comes to weather stories. The weather story today, a pretty normal winter day with plenty of sunshine. Got to -7. Whew, good to be below seasonal average. -9 out there right now, feeling closer to -12. Tomorrow, going to be a little bit nicer. We're going to see a little less sun than we saw today. Today was a mainly sunny day. Tomorrow, there will be some more cloudy periods. The winds will also pick up tomorrow as we go across the province right now. -12 in Drumheller and Brooks, -2 in Lethbridge. In Bow Island, it's -8, Calgary -5, and Edmonton cloudy and -7. Mainly clear everywhere else. Over in Saskatchewan, everybody's clear. A few clouds in Swift Current and Regina. -7 in Saskatoon and Maple Creek. -8 in Regina. Leader -14 in Swift Current. -13. Some cloud, but not a lot of precipitation. And this is what we're watching here now, the system here. So you see all of this stuff that's going to pound the coast of British Columbia. Some oranges, some blacks, some really dark precipitation areas sitting there. Then that low pressure will sink into the Pacific Northwest where it rains all the time anyway. And then it starts to move across. How much of that moves across will determine how much precipitation we get Thursday on New Year's Eve into New Year's Day on Friday. So right now we're looking at maybe a centimeter, maybe a little bit more than that between the 2 days, but there is a chance to get a little bit more than that. Right now I'm sticking with a centimeter to maybe a little bit more than that. There is the outside chance of 3 to 6, but I'm not quite expecting that at this point. We'll watch that system in the next couple of days to see how it develops. Bottom line is for Wednesday in Brooks, -13, feeling like -20, a cloudy sky to wake up to. Then the sun starts to come out for you in Brooks. In Leader, mostly clear, then lots of sunshine, -10 during the day, and then partly cloudy. In Maple Creek, partly cloudy to start the day off, partly sunny to get out there, and not too bad to look at. And then once we get here to Medicine Hat, like I said, partly sunny tomorrow, a little bit more cloud tomorrow than we had today. It was mainly sunny all day here. And the temperature, well, we'll wake up in the morning to what we have right now, and then going up to -1 before. As we get closer to the new year, we're at 0, then -1 again. There's that potential snow for Thursday. And as we go into Friday, the new year starts off 4 degrees, then 6s and 7s heading into the weekend. Now the 4, 6s and 7s not going to feel like that. It's going to feel a little bit colder, but I'd rather have 6 degrees and have it feel a little bit colder than the -37 that David Phillips was talking about. Bottom line, sunshine again tomorrow, a little bit warmer, and the new year looks to start off beautifully. More news still to come here on Chat News at 5. For now, that's our forecast. Good evening, this is Chat News at 5. I'm Dan Reynish. After nearly 23 years spread over 2 stints as general manager of the Medicine Hat exhibition in Stampede, Jim MacArthur is retiring on February 20th. Or to put it in cowboy terms, he'll be riding off into the sunset. Here's Chris Brown with more.
The 4-day Stampede in July is the highlight of the summer for many in southeastern Alberta, and Jim MacArthur has been behind it for more than a generation. Looking back on more than 2 decades at the helm, a 4-year term in the 1980s, and a return in 2002 for 18 more years separated by time at the family ranching operation, 2 things stand out to MacArthur: change and growth.
There's no question that technology has been a big change. We've gone from tickets that were, sold out of a small ticket booth downtown to tickets that are sold online and scanned at the grandstand.
MacArthur says that while the summer celebration is the centerpiece of what the exhibition and Stampede does each year, the smaller events on the calendar are catching up. That includes the Spring Rodeo, Chuck Wagon Races, Old Time Christmas, and the Pen Show in December.
When I got back here in 2002, it was the field house and part of the pavilion. Now it's the entire Cypress Center, and pens are even set up outside. And so it's become a really well-known livestock show in Western Canada. And so the committee and the board of directors have worked hard on it, and as well as our staff, of course.
All those events were either cancelled or held in COVID-friendly fashion this year. MacArthur said when people ask how the Stampede plans in the middle of a pandemic, He tells them it's a lot of planning, unplanning, and then replanning. He counts being able to put on the farmers market in 2020 as a highlight.
We were able to conduct at least 13 or 14 of those. We started in mid-June, but of course they were always subject to being stopped if things got worse. We tried our best to keep our profile up a bit, and I think in the case of the farmers market, the other thing that we're pleased about is that we were able to support small businesses to make their way through this time as well.
MacArthur sees the Stampede as a community builder and likens the grounds to a small-town community hall that hosts hundreds of activities each year. Everything from trade shows to weddings. He says that's one of the biggest contributions the Stampede makes to the community.
I can remember kidding around with someone and saying that you could, you can get a flu shot or buy a truck at the Stampede grounds, all in the same visit.
Russ Barnes has been with the Stampede since before MacArthur's first term as general manager in the 1980s. He says MacArthur filled big shoes left by Dan Sodero, and MacArthur is leaving even bigger shoes to fill.
The legacy he leaves is a long chain of very good management. He was totally committed to the Medicine Hat exhibition and Stampede, as well as the community. His dedication is, cannot be questioned.
MacArthur says he'll miss the relationships with the staff, volunteers, guests, and colleagues the most. He doesn't have any specific plans for retirement, but says he has a few irons in the fire and a little bit of gas left in the tank. He'll probably even be seen around the Stampede offices.
We only live a couple of blocks from here, so I do intend to, hopefully without being annoying, hang around a bit. So I look forward to that.
Chris Brown, Chat News.
A community partnership with the city, police, and the Rotary Club of Medicine Hat will help get bikes out on the street to those who need transportation. According to police, about 150 bicycles are reported stolen every year in Medicine Hat. Many of these bikes remain unclaimed and are then sold through a public auction, with the proceeds going directed back to the city. Now, some of these unclaimed bikes will get repaired by Rotarians through the donation program. Inspector Brent Zakondiak says there's definitely a need. The Rotary Club reached out to the police a few months ago to get behind the community-based initiative.
We wanted to find a way to take some of the bikes that we seize and hold at MHPS and give them back to other people in need with really two goals. One, to provide transportation to those who need it, and secondly, with a hope to decrease some of our thefts of bicycles in the community.
The deal is that we're going to try to get about 30 bikes every quarter. We'll fix them up ourselves. The club members will fix the bikes up. New tires, new tubes, new handlebars, or whatever's needed, and make them roadworthy and make them available, first of all, to the Salvation Army, but maybe other organizations in the future.
Mueller hopes to have this batch of bikes out by the end of January. The club was also thinking about having a couple bikes available at the library to rent out as if they were books to borrow. An Alberta child's love for garbage trucks has blossomed into a friendship. As Sarah Comadino explains, the special connection goes far beyond collection day.
5-year-old Isaac is a typical little boy. He says what he's thinking.
I'm wearing snow pants.
He has trouble keeping still.
What do you think?
And one more thing. Okay, Isaac loves garbage trucks.
They go really slow and they stop for the garbage.
Every birthday, what do you want? Garbage truck. Christmas, garbage truck. You want to go to the store today and pick a new toy? Sure. What do you want? Garbage truck.
Every Wednesday is a celebration for garbage pickup.
Every time I way at the end of the lawn and they just wave and sometimes they wave and sometimes they don't.
There was one who always waved back.
When I see Isaac, it's like I cheered up. It's like, oh, here's my buddy.
Isaac started waving to Trevor McPherson 3 years ago. Soon he started to chase his truck, and one day Isaac dressed up.
I see Isaac, I'm like, oh my God. He's in this little garbage truck, running in this little garbage truck down the road.
I put my garbage truck costume on because we painted it a box, and he signed it.
Their relationship grew from there.
It feels like really good. And I want to go get a freezy for him and me.
He has hero status for sure around here. Like, he's up there with Santa Claus.
But then Trevor parted ways with the company.
He never comes to our house now.
Still, the bond endured. During the lockdown, Trevor started to make cement animal lawn decorations. A few weeks ago, he gifted one to Isaac.
So I pop up with it and he's like, Trevor, Trevor. Yeah, I was happy, man. I was like, water full my eyes.
Sadly, Isaac is slowly growing out of this phase. This Christmas marked the first time he didn't ask for a garbage truck toy. But the friendship will have a lasting impact.
I was a garbage man, so he's like, Trevor. So that means to me more than just a garbage man.
He's really special to our family, and he's done spread a lot of joy to Isaac and me.
Sarah Comadina, Global News.
And those are all the stories we have for you on this edition of Chat News at 5. I'm Dan Reynish. We'll have more for you at noon and 5 o'clock tomorrow. Have a great night, and thank you for watching this evening.